My name is Jamin Goecker. I'm a realtor in South Central Alaska, and my mission is to help you to build an intentional and significant legacy for yourself and your family by coaching you in real estate. And the purpose of this video is to really make plain what the home selling process looks like for those of you who are considering getting your property on the market in the near future here. There's kind of some mystery shrouding this, and a lot of people are not exactly sure what it looks like. So I kind of lay that out for you, what you can expect moving forward. Before we get started, do make sure you give this video a like and do subscribe so you can receive more information like this in the future. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the video today talking about the home selling process for getting your property ready to go onto the market. Now, the first step that we're going to do here is to do the initial consultation. And in this consultation, a lot actually does happen during this meetup. So it's not just something that I say just for the heck of it because I like going through people's houses, but the reason that we're sitting down and talking is I'm trying to find out what it is you're trying to accomplish from going and trying to make this move happen. That gives me a lot of clarity and also gives me an idea of how best to position you to make that happen. So that's number one. We go ahead and do our consultation. We do that needs analysis and determine how best that I can help you. Step two is after I've had a chance to actually go through and take a look at the property, I do what's called a broker opinion of value or called a CMA by some other people as well. And what this is it helps us to determine the value of the property. First in the eyes of a buyer, and secondly in the eyes of the appraiser, because ultimately it's going to be the appraiser that determines the value of the house. You could have somebody offer you $1 million for your property, and if the appraisal comes back and it's only 500 or something like that, 500,000, then the property's 500,000 now, and that appraisal is attached to the actual property, and it's really hard to get away from that. So for that reason, we really do make sure that our methodologies match what the appraisal is going to do, so that you don't end up in a situation where you're expecting a much higher price point because, so-and-so offered us this, and the numbers clearly don't show that for what's going on in the area. Keep in mind, even in a market like this, the current one that we're in early 2022, there are limits to how much an appraiser can justify a property be worth. It cannot be, I think, any more than above 10% of what the second highest comparable property in the area has sold for recently. So there are limits to how much you can just shoot up. So yes, broker opinion of value. That's going to be step number two. Now, number three, once we have determined the date that you're going to be going on, we've determined how best to help you, and we've got our plan in place. Now it's time to really start implementing a lot of our marketing stuff. Now for the marketing, the number one thing we can do up front is get solid professional photos. I've seen some people that have just been using iPhone photos and they look terrible. Okay, I'm just going to call a spade a spade. They look absolutely terrible, and they really stand out in a bad way because everyone else is getting professional photos. They only cost usually about $180, $250, somewhere around there anyway, and they go a long way to helping you. Not only that, but those photos are used in all the other marketing pieces we use for the house, and if we use bad photos and use those on all our flyers and all the other marketing pieces, it's just going to be amplifying this bad image of the house. So professional photos, that's number one. And then what we do from there, we do all the classic pieces of the marketing of obviously the flyers for the area, if it's applicable, open houses, we certainly do those. Call everybody in the area, door knock everyone in the immediate area. I don't go door to door finding someone who's trying to move across the street. That's not very realistic. But what I am in fact looking for is somebody who knows somebody else that's looking to move into the area, which, likely. People know other people like them, and so they're living in that area. Chances are they know somebody else who'd be interested in living in that area. And then we call everybody in that area. And then also what we do that's a little bit different, I do actually create a YouTube ad specifically for your property. Those little videos that pop up right before you watch the video and you're just waiting for 5 seconds to go by, and sometimes one catches your attention and you watch more? Well, that'll be us. That's going to be us. Another thing that I do that's different is I also shoot the property and 360 video, and that That doesn't cost you any extra. That's just something that I provide, makes it a lot easier for people who are out of state to take a tour of the property, look at everything. If you're not really aware of what 360 video does, then let's talk about that. Let me know. I'll bring my Oculus headset when we're doing that initial consultation and show you what it's like. But those are going to be some of the bedrock pieces that we put in there for marketing. And sometimes we'll do a little bit more too. If it's a specific property, sometimes we need to do something a little bit different for the marketing, but that's just kind of the standard packet that we go with. Let's take a break here real quick. For those of you who have been watching the channel for a while, you do know that I have regular market updates talking about what's going on in every market in South Central Alaska. So I want to encourage you to check that out, see what's going on in your immediate area. And also, if you're trying to get a feel for what this whole home selling thing looks like, then certainly do feel free to reach out to me. I'll send you a copy of my seller's guide. And yeah, that's obviously no charge to you, and it's just going to lay out a lot of what we're talking about here, but in a lot more detail. So if that's something you would like to receive, certainly feel free to reach out to me on my website. The link for that is going to be in the description section down below, and just put in seller guide so I know what it is that I need to send you. Now, let's go and finish up today's video. So the next thing after going live, and we've done all of our marketing, is we're going to be receiving offers coming in at this point. Now, receiving the offers and negotiating them is really going to be a big part of my job as a listing agent and helping you to maximize what you can get for the property. And that is going to be analyzing each deal and knowing, okay, well, this is the pros and cons of this one. This is the pros and cons of this one. I think we can push back a little bit on this. We might not want to push too hard on that, or we run the risk of them just going away completely. And really, the point of negotiating is making sure that we come up with a deal that is going to be fair and acceptable to both sides. Because the last thing you want is for a buyer to get into a deal with you and just be looking for a reason to just give it to you any chance that they've got. So we want to make sure that they've got skin in the game, they feel good about what they're getting, they don't feel like they're getting screwed over. Conversely though, we also need to feel good about what we're doing as well. And this kind of comes back to what we were talking before about trying to find out what it is that you're really trying to get out of this, and really knowing what a win looks like for you. So negotiating, we get it under contract. Immediately after that, we go into title. Now what title does with the title company is they do most of their work behind the scenes. You're not going to really hear from them very much, but what they're doing is if they're asking for a general warranty title or general warranty deed, they're going to go back all the way to the history, or all the way back to the beginning of the history of the property, and be able to show who's owned it at what times, in the legal system. And the good thing about that is that once you do sell the property to the buyer, then that's saying, hey, here's this title warranty saying what this is. And if somebody comes up afterwards, like after you guys have already sold it, and says, oh, so-and-so didn't have the right to sell it, that was bequeathed to me by my uncle, nieces, aunts at such and such a date, and the title company steps forward in court and just says, no, that's incorrect, go away. So that's what title's doing behind the scene. It's a very important role. Not a whole lot of people really appreciate what it is that they do, because it was a wild west before we had title companies. So that's what the title company does. Now, the other thing that's going to be going on behind the scene is the lender is going to be doing a further, deeper pull of the buyer, making sure that they're good, that they can do what they say that they're going to do, and making sure that they've got enough assets on hand, their loan to debt ratio, or their debt to income ratio is good, and making sure that that's all good to go. While that's all running on behind the scenes, we go into what's called the due diligence period. Now, the due diligence period is really important in a transaction, because if the buyers are going to walk away and keep their earnest money, this is going to be the best time for them to do it. So they do their inspections, and then they go back, they ask for repairs, and then this is another phase of negotiations where we go back and forth and figure out what's going to be an agreeable agreement for both parties. So I've seen this sometimes take a long time. It's very drawn out. I've seen other times where it's like buyer doesn't ask for anything, or they ask for like one or two things that are super simple. So there's kind of an art to how we do the due diligence period and the repair requests. If a deal is going to fall apart, it is usually going to be during this period. Now, usually after we're done with the inspections and we have an agreement on repairs, the buyer will advance funds, or the seller will advance funds in some cases, for the appraisal to be ordered. Now, when the appraisal comes out, or when the appraiser comes out, they are not working for us, as the seller. They're not working for the buyer. They are out there on behalf of the lender. And what they want to do is determine that the lender is not overpaying for the property, because the last thing a lender wants to do is forward funds for a property and then find out after the fact, hey, that property was worth realistically about $100,000 less than what you loaned on it. So that's what the appraiser is going to be doing. They're not there to beat you up. They're not there to, to cause fights. They're really there just to make sure that a lot of crazy stuff isn't happening in the market that just ends up sinking everybody. So we don't end up with another market like we had back in 2008 and 2009. So that's what the appraiser is there to do. It usually takes a couple weeks to get the appraiser out there recently. And once they're out there, they do their thing, they have the report back. Once we've got that, it is really just a matter of title and the lenders going back and forth and coordinating everything, and you getting your stuff ready to move out. And once we've got everything together, then you go to the closing table. Now, I'm going to say there's a difference between closing and recording in Alaska. So the closing is where you guys go to title and you sign everything, you get the pictures, and everybody's happy. Now, recording is the very next day when all those documents, recording, the transference of the property, so-and-so owns it now, and that's where it becomes legally the buyer's. So you need to make sure all your stuff is out of there preferably before closing, but definitely before recording. Okay, that's when you have to have your stuff out of there. And there's obviously a lot of nuances and things that can happen along the way, but that is a basic breakdown of what the home selling process looks like nowadays. It could definitely change. It usually does, by little degrees here and there throughout the years, but that's the general layout of what it looks like right now. If you have any other questions of what the process looks like, do feel free to reach out to me at either my website down below or Facebook or Instagram, and be happy to answer any questions you might have and meet with you and see what the value of your property might be. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.